Boy, do I have a story for you. Let me start from the beginning. It was a rainy evening when I called the Uber to pick me up from work. Normally I would walk, but the thought of the 45-minute trek back to my house and the pouring rain made me want to die. I worked in an office downtown, slaving away on my computer for 10 hours before going home to wallow in my own self-pity, so the least I could do for myself was get a ride home. My Uber took forever and a day to pick me up. I stood under the entrance to the building, watching the little white car on the app slowly make its way to my location. The driver's name was Adam. No picture listed, but driving a white 2015 Toyota Corolla. I waited, killing time scrolling through my social media feeds, getting anxious from my feet starting to hurt and the stupid heels I thought would be smart to break in. Walking to work in heels was not an easy thing, let me tell you, but they were a super cute pair of stilettos that I really wanted to wear to the clubs this weekend. I'd rather my feet hurt now than when I was trying to dance the night away. Beauty is pain. As I waited for the driver, my phone started ringing. Looking at the caller ID, I saw it was my mother. Ugh. She always had some sort of drama to make about it, but I had ignored her last 3 calls, so I had to answer this time. Hello? Maggie, listen to what your brother did to me. Also, why did you not answer the phone yesterday? And the day before? Do you even love me? You know, I'm only getting older. You should just come visit me. I haven't seen you in a while, and it gets lonely here all by myself. You haven't even been to see the new house yet. I rolled my eyes at my mother. She had a flair for the dramatics. I listened to her rant about how my brother didn't try her casserole when he recently came over to dinner, and how his children are so ungrateful. Relieved when I saw the gray Toyota Corolla pull up next to me. The driver just sat there, staring at the road, so I bent down and waved to him. He reached to the back seat and popped the door open. I gestured that I was on the call, but I quickly hopped in. The sooner I can get it home, the better. The car started driving as soon as I buckled in. It took me a little longer to do this one with one hand, when my mother was still yapping in my ear. I closed my eyes, relieved to be off my feet and out of the rain. The thought of getting home and laying in my bed was almost too enticing to bear. Finally, my mom took a breath and I took the advantage of the pause. Mom, give me your new address. I'll come see you this weekend. She seemed pleased that I had asked and happily rattled it off. I placed her on speaker for a minute so I could add it to the notes of my phone, and then brought her back to my ear. I gotta go, okay? I'll call you tomorrow. I'm in an Uber right now. It's rude to be on the phone. I could care less if I was being rude, but I really wanted to be off the call. You know, Margaret, one day you're going to call me and I'm not going to answer. Then you'll feel really like a jerk. I rolled my eyes and disconnected the call. Like I said, my mother was overly dramatic. She'd always answer when I called her. Finally, in silence, I closed my eyes and leaned my head back to the headrest. Letting out a deep sigh, I let the jostling of the car soothe all of my aches and pains, letting my mind numb to the stress of the day. I felt the car jerk to a halt unexpectedly, and it pulled me back into reality. My head lurched forward and thudding unpleasantly back into the headrest. Dude, drive much? I had said with a sour tone. I was not in the mood. The driver said nothing. I leaned forward so I could get a better look at him, but I couldn't really see much. From the back, I was only able to see a mop of dark brown hair under a baseball cap. The rest of his face was turned away and hidden in the shadows of the night. Hey, I double-checked the app. Adam, right? Could you take it easier with the driving? I've really had a rough day and I would really appreciate it. Maybe the nicer approach would work with this guy. He said nothing. He had no reaction at all, actually. No nod of acknowledgement, no grunt in agreement, nothing. A trickle of unease coursed through me. Maybe I should walk the rest of the way. Hey, you know what? I actually realized I need to stop at the grocery store before I go home. If you want to let me out here, I can get off and walk the rest of the way. I unbuckled my seatbelt and put my hand on the door, waiting for the car to stop so I could get the heck out of there. I'm not sure what this guy's deal was, but he was actually really starting to creep me out. Again, no reaction. Let me out of the car, now. Nothing. My heart thudded in my chest as I really started to panic. I had to get out of this car. The car continued on, and I looked around, realizing we were not driving the normal route that would have taken me back to my house. Instead, we were driving down a road that would eventually lead us out of town. Oh man. I tried the door and realized that it was locked. I couldn't get it open no matter how hard I tried. I looked around for a weapon, but I didn't see anything that I could use. The only thing back there was what I had brought with me, just my purse and my phone. Despair set in. I was about to be taken to the middle of nowhere and murdered or something. I don't know what his plan was, but I was sure as hell that it wasn't good. I rooted around in my purse for something that I can use, but all I had was my wallet, a tube of chapstick, and some gum. Then I realized there was something I could use, my heels. I reached down and removed both of my heels in case I needed to run. Barefoot would be quicker. Gripping the heel in my hand, I waited until he rolled into a stop at the light, and then with all the force I could muster, I rammed the pointy end of my shoe right into where I guessed his eye socket would be. I knew I hit my target when he screamed in pain, hands coming up to clutch at his eye. I took advantage of the distraction and launched myself into the front passenger seat, making quick work of the lock, and thankfully the door opened when I pulled the handle. Wasting no time, I scrambled out of the car and ran in the general direction of where we had come from, leaving everything behind. Once I got closer to my job, I recognized exactly where I was and ran. Ran until I thought my legs would give out. I didn't stop until I reached my apartment building, used my welcome mat key and running inside, bolting the lock behind me. I used the landline my mother insisted I still pay for to place my first call, 911. I gave the operator all my information, and she said they'd send someone over, but since I was safe at home and behind locked doors, I was not priority number one. The next call I placed was to my mother. After everything I went through tonight, I needed to talk to her, but she didn't answer. It's been hours now. The cops have come and gone. They tracked down the Uber account to a real user named Adam, who is not the guy who was in the car I got into. The real Adam showed up after I got into the car, and when he saw I wasn't there, he moved on. They have no idea whose car I got into, and they haven't been able to locate my phone. Moral of the story, be careful of whose car you get into. I've called my mom 7 times now, and she still hasn't answered, which is completely out of character for her. She must still be mad at me for hanging up on her earlier. I think I'll go to her house and check up on her as soon as I finish this post and smooth things over.